Good morning, wherever you are on this wonderful planet that we call home, our only home in the universe at this point, and so we'd better look after it, I suppose. You are on a live morning safari in the wilds of the Greater Kruger National Park, which is, of course, in South Africa, the most beautiful country in the world, and there's, of course, no debate on that one. From Cape Town in the deep south to Messina in the deep north, from Cozy Bay in the deep east to Alexander Bay in the deep west, South Africa is what we call home, and it is here that the iconic Kruger National Park provides a haven for wildlife that we are privileged to bring to you live every day, twice a day, morning and afternoon. Well, morning and afternoon for us. A bit different depending on where you are in the world. My name is James Henry. On camera today we've got Willem Durenbrach, who is dressed, well, he's just a little bit like a sort of a technical worker. He's got a bobcat hat on. I'm not sure what that means. Anyway, he looks pretty happy with life. He's just supping on a breakfast bar to take away the pangs of hunger that assail us sometimes here in the mornings. On the other vehicle, hot on the trail of some lions, we hope is Scott, and he is being filmed by Jean-Dre, who has just returned from an extended sojourn in Cape Town. In the final control, the old hands of Nicky Austin and Tara Dales will be looking after things, and the rapidly healing Eugene will be looking after technical stuff this morning. Please remember, like I say, this is a live safari, and you are with us live. That means that there is no delay between what you're seeing and what I am saying. Well, a very small one, but not much. So please interact with us. We do love that. Hashtag Safari Live if you're tweeting away, or questions at wildearth.tv if you're on the email. Now, thank you for all of your updates. A lot of you have been watching the Djuma Dam cam, and you've heard the lions roaring. That is why we are out here in the east, stopped on top of this crest, trying to see if we can hear some lions calling. We think they are the 5 Birmingham male lions who've been calling. Willem and I have been sat here for about 2 or 3 minutes, and we haven't heard them calling again. So what we're going to do is continue to the east and see if we can pick up the tracks. Scott is just to the south of us. He can hear some he can't hear tracks, he can see some tracks. So that's what he's doing. It's about 17 degrees apparently, according to the weather forecast. That's 63 degrees Fahrenheit if you happen to be resident in the 16th century. But it feels like there's a front coming in. Apparently there's a big front on the Highveld, which means the highlands just beyond the Drakensberg. And we are now sitting in the Lowveld, of course, and it is a little bit cooler than I think it is supposed to be. Now, just keep listening for those lions. I'm just going to I don't want to move, I don't want to start the engine yet because we won't hear them. So I'm going to give you a quick update on some more information we had about the lions. It's going to be quite quick, so concentrate, get your game face on, and here we go. 5 male lions are trying to take over this territory. Young males, probably about 4 years old, and they're trying to take over this territory. They're taking it from 2 big male, experienced male lions of about 10 years called the Matimbas. They have gone south into Mala Mala. Yesterday, they did attack a female from another pride called the Styx Pride, a young 2.5-year-old female. They didn't kill her. She's okay. We don't know why they did it. Right, that's the update there. Then, we do know that these 5 young male lions have now killed 3 lionesses. They have killed 2 from the Nkuhuma Pride, and they've killed 1 from the Styx Pride. And the most recent one was 2 days ago. They killed her. They were lying all around her, apparently, and they bit her, and she died right next to them while they were sleeping next to her. We don't understand this behavior entirely. We've been postulating various things about it, so we don't really know. That's the state of things right here. The Styx Pride at the moment consists of 2 breakaways, the 2.5-year-old females, 2 of them, one of whom was attacked. They're okay. They're sometimes with the rest of the pride, and sometimes they're not. The rest of the pride consists of 2 10-year-old females and 1 6-year-old female. It was the 1 6-year-old female that was killed. The other one still has 1 cub, and they are with the Matimba males on Mala Mala. So that is a semi-stable situation. How long that's going to last, I can't tell you. there is a huge amount of male lion activity going on at the moment. There are 3 other young males coming in from the south called the Sparta males, coming in from Londolozi somewhere. There are 2 males called the Styx males. They're now coming into about 4 or 4.5 years of age. No, sorry, about 3.5 to 4 years of age. They're looking pretty big. They've got big manes. They're definitely the offspring of the Matimbas, and they're looking pretty good. Why they're still here, why their fathers haven't thrown them out, we don't know. There's also Junior. Junior, and I was chatting to a couple of the guys yesterday, is now starting to get very large. He doesn't have a full mane yet. He is the male of the Nkuhuma pride, but he's not the pride male. He is just born into that pride. He hasn't been thrown out yet. So it's all up in the air. It's all rather exciting. And the last pride that we have, of course, is the Shumungwe pride, which comes on to the north of us here on Biffle's Hook. That's 3 females and 1 young male. Who knows what's going to happen with them. So it's all very exciting. The books will tell you one thing. The lions, of course, don't read the textbooks, and so there's a huge amount of activity going on. I can't hear any lions now. Bevan, can you?
No.
Right. So we're going to carry on to the east slowly, see if we can pick the tracks up. Scott is in the far east, just checking on our far eastern boundary. Just remember, if you are perhaps a first-time viewer, we're sitting on a piece of the western Kruger National Park called the Sabi Sands. It's 60,000 hectares. There are no fences between us and any of the other properties here, but we are only allowed to traverse about 1,500 hectares. So the animals can come and go as they please. We obviously can't cross those boundaries. So that's when I say we're on a boundary, no fences. So not a boundary to the animals, but to us and our human property laws, there is a boundary. Right, enough yakking away from me. Just tied myself up with my microphone. Let's see what we can find. And like I say, you're welcome to ask as many questions as you like about the lions. We don't know exactly what's going on. We don't know exactly why they're behaving like they are. But please, let's have a discussion. Let's talk about it. And let's see if we can't figure out what the behavior is and how it's going to turn out. Just let's carry on with the lion discussion. Bernice in Tennessee. Nice question. Is it possible that the Birmingham males killed that female because they sensed somehow that she was pregnant by the Matimbas, and therefore, you know, they do kill cubs, so maybe they kill pregnant females too? Bernice, I think it's not a bad thought. I just don't think it's likely because it doesn't make evolutionary sense. Remember, we're going to talk. You've got to think in terms of what is overall success for the species. What would create the most success? And that kind of behavior wouldn't. So I don't. It's not impossible, Bernice. The other reason I'm saying I don't think it's likely is because in this area there seems to have been, in the last 2 pride takeovers, well, not pride takeovers, male coalition takeovers, there has been a lot of killing of females. They're definitely all pregnant females. So I don't think that's what it is, but it's an interesting thought. Thanks, Bernice. We're obviously also going to keep a strong eye out on the ground to see if any tracks come in or out. Right, I've got Scott on the radio. I'm just going to quickly talk to him. Go ahead, Scott. Okay, copy that. I am on Buckles Cut Line heading east. I'm about 600 meters from the junction of the Cheetah Cut Line. I haven't got any tracks yet. So Scott says that he has got tracks going in and out on the western boundary. It's often difficult to tell which is which because they will move around a lot. And these Birmingham Males, if that's who it is, and it's most likely that it's the Birmingham Males, they are moving a tremendous amount because they're trying to take over this territory. So, John, in California, you've posted, or you've seen the video of that Cheetah Plains posted. Cheetah Plains is a lodge just south of here, another reserve where they do sort of ecotourism, and they've posted a video of one of the large Birmingham boys facing off with Junior. And John, I haven't seen the video, so I don't know what to make of it. And you say that you harbour hopes that Junior might join the Birmingham boys. It's not impossible, and like I think I've said, that it would be quite nice if that happened, but I think it's unlikely. But who knows, it may well. I'm definitely going to go and have a look at that video when we get home. Thanks, John. So we're just coming up now to the edge of our northeastern boundary. So, I'm going to stop up here again and have another listen. And while I do that, oh, look at the sun. We'll have a look at the sun coming up, and I will answer the question of Wendy in Nebraska. Is that all right for you, Viam? Wendy, you say, is it possible that the Birmingham boys, with their killing of these lionesses, is it possible that they will turn into man-eaters like the Tsavo lions that killed all the railroad workers? Wendy, I think that the likelihood of that is zero to, or negligible to zero. So I really don't think that they're going to turn into vicious man-eating lions. Their behavior at the moment, while it might seem kind of abhorrent and quite vicious, is not that unusual, especially for this area. And especially given the volume of young males in the area. So I don't think it's likely that they're going to start eating people anytime soon. Those lions of Tsavo, which were made famous in that film The Ghost in the Darkness, about as historically accurate as the film Braveheart, so not very historically accurate at all. There were lion man-eaters there. They were maneless, they had no manes, so they didn't have a pride, and they had all sorts of other abhorrent things that happened to them, and that's why they turned into man-eaters. So Wendy in Nebraska? No, I don't think we're about to be eaten by them. I might be wrong, but I hope not. There is the sun, and we're just going to have a quick listen here and see if we can't hear some of the lions. Beautiful. It's so special that we get to see that every day. Every day the dawn chorus just gets slightly louder as we move towards, oh, today's the 1st of spring, of course. 1st of spring. Bye-bye, winter. Don't come back too soon. And here doves and robins and batises and corhans. That's a corhan you can hear, a red-crested corhan. And they have been totally silent for the winter. Right, can't hear any lions. Let's move slowly down now our eastern boundary, and we'll go towards Buffelshoek Waterhole or Buffelshoek Dam, and we'll see if they're not there. There's a lion. No, there's a lion. Oh, no, it's not a lion. Sorry, I'm talking rubbish. Sorry, everybody, there isn't a lion there. You've got a track. Where's it going? Where? Sort of behind us. Is it a fresh one? So Viam has spotted a track. I thought I spotted a lion, but I didn't. I spotted a tree. Viam, I think that's from yesterday when they went into Buffelshoek. So we're going to carry on down here. Although, yes, there is a lion track here, but it's been obscured by animals that have been wandering about in the night, and so I don't think it's a very fresh one. But we're into the area now where we thought we heard them calling this morning, so we're going to drive slowly. We'll probably stop a few times and listen, and Scott is on some tracks. Like I say, we're on our far eastern boundary at the moment, so we can't go in there, but I think that they were calling our side of the boundary. They will move a little bit at this time of the day. And then, of course, as soon as it gets vaguely warm, unless there's a major territorial dispute, the lions will lie down in the shade and sleep profoundly. So just a question on the Matimbas and what their sort of deal is. David in Michigan, you want to know why they don't rally to the Styx Pride. Well, in actual fact, they have sort of. They've moved them south into the northern extremities of the Styx territory, or sorry, the southern extremities of the Styx territory, which is in Mala Mala, which is 2 farms south of us here. And apparently the Matimbas are now being seen almost exclusively with the rest of the Styx Pride. So that 6-year-old female with a small cub and the 2 10-year-old females. And they are hanging around with them. Why the Matimbas are now getting irritated with the breakaway group of 2.5-year-old females, who knows. But David, they are apparently looking after the rest of that Styx Pride. And absolutely, there will be an element of them being chicken. You say, are they being chicken? Well, yes, there will be an element of that, absolutely, because they're up against 5. It's 5 on 2. Now, I haven't seen any tracks yet, so we're going to keep on along here, and I'll turn off and have a listen just now. PK in Iowa, you want to know how much sort of research is done, and does anybody keep records? Absolutely, PK, there's lots of research that goes on. The guides around here keep records, and those records are often collated by various research groups. For example, Panthera, which is a big cat research group, a big cat research NGO, and they do a great job of trying to find out what's going on and researching it. So absolutely, the Sabi Sands is a huge repository of data for big cat research. Some kudu up ahead, but there's a nyala over here, which I think is going to be a bit more interesting. beautiful Nyala bull. So while we look at that beautiful Nyala bull, who clearly is not looking particularly alarmed and therefore unlikely to walk into 5 male lions who would devour him in seconds, Amy, in Wisconsin, you make mention of the fact that the lioness that was killed by the Nkuhumas last month was investigated by the Sabi Sands. Absolutely. It was killed on Torchwood, which is just over there, and they will do autopsies on lions for various reasons. They probably did some genetic research, like you say. I think they also probably did quite a lot of research on the lymph glands to check for TB and that sort of thing, and the effects of what TB is having on the lions. Then Arcadia, you say that the Arathusa guys say that that female was pregnant, that was killed, the 6-year-old Styx female. It's absolutely possible she was mating with the Matimbas, and so it's quite possible that she was pregnant. I am not convinced that's the reason that they killed her. It's not impossible, but it doesn't make sense. It makes absolutely no sense from an evolutionary point of view, but then again, it doesn't make a huge amount of sense that they should kill any lioness from an evolutionary point of view. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. No one can tell whether that female was pregnant or not. She definitely had been mating. She had been mating only about maybe 2 or 3 weeks before she was killed, and so to be able to tell whether she was pregnant or not, we don't really know. Right, here we go. Just going to listen. All right, let's nip across to Scott. He is in this area. I'm not sure how he's doing, so we'll get an update from him, and I will chat to you in just a little while, hopefully with some good luck.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome on board with myself, Scott, and I'm teamed up with Jandre again. Same as yesterday. We are searching for these lion, as I'm sure James has informed you. And not only that, we're looking for the lion, but he's also given you a lot of really interesting theories and speculations as to what's going on and why. Now, it's really exciting stuff, looking for these lion, and I've got a feeling they could be somewhere close by. I'm really looking forward to James getting to Buffelshoek Dam, because there's a chance that they could be there. Failing that, we'll just have to keep trying, keep searching, keep looping around, hopefully hear them calling again, because that'll be very easy. Will make it much easier for us to pinpoint exactly where they are. We heard them calling from camp, as I'm sure James informed you, but that was quite some way off and difficult to pinpoint exactly where. There's so many different factors to take into account when listening to lion audio, or any audio really, and wind is certainly one of them, and it is a windy morning, so depending on which way the wind is blowing will obviously have an impact on how exactly you are picking up the audio. The good news is there's not just lions out here, there's lots of other animals, and while we search for the lions, we can take time to enjoy everything else that's going on around us. This is an adult female kudu, and she's catching up to the rest of her herd, who is already east of this road, which is called Cheetah Cutline. And while we sit here and enjoy this sighting, it's important for us to try and keep quiet as much as we can, or at least listen as much as we can. Or at least listen as much as we can for any clues or signs of what may be going on around us. look at how dry the bush is, and even though it's the first day of spring, there's not too many signs. Look at that, beautiful into the sunrise. Now, even though this kudu seems very relaxed, it's not to say that the lion aren't close by. Often when lion are vocalizing, it gives the antelope a heads up, and it allows them to almost drop their guard because they've got a good idea of where they may be in relation to where the audio is coming from. And you can often be quite surprised at how little attention is paid to lion and leopard that are vocalizing, because the prey animals almost know they've got ulterior motives, and they're not interested in so much in hunting, but more in communicating with other members of the lion community. Of course, if the lion came into within visual distance, all prey animals will act accordingly. So don't be disheartened by the fact that the kudu are nearby. So could the lion. Go ahead, James. Okay, copy that, James. Sounds good. The last tracks I had looked like they headed continued north in the block between Cheetah Cut Line and Drakensberg off Central. Okay, so just keeping in touch with James there, but he hasn't had any luck either. He's checked Buffalo's Hook Dam, and now he's going to continue working that area and check Quarry Pan Road. It's a good road to check. It's one that I have yet to check. So, as James was discussing with you a little bit earlier, and apologies for my lack in concentration on you guys, but the radio is going crazy and I'm trying to think of what next, what the best plan is for us to do next. And Debbie in Vancouver has asked a question also on the topic of the Birmingham boys, these lions we're looking for now, and she's interested to know if the lions have forged any positive relationships with lioness where they have been seen relaxing or co-feeding in a more peaceful scenario, like you would typically see with dominant males and the prides that exist within their territory. And Debbie, I have yet to see that happen. It's not to say they haven't created any relationships with the lioness within various prides. Franklin and I've just heard alarming. It's a strange alarm call that they let off when they are not too concerned. It's either a Franklin or a lilac-breasted roller. Oh no, it's a lilac-breasted roller. But it is an absolutely beautiful golden sunlight. Please don't fly away. There it goes. And it landed just behind the tree, where we couldn't see it. And Debbie, to be honest, I don't think they have yet created any positive or relaxed bonds with any prides of lioness, because they haven't become dominant yet, and they've been running around as rogue males, you could say. I think in the coming months we will see that change, but not just yet, and it'll be interesting to know if they have been seen relaxing with other lioness. And it will happen, but for now it hasn't been documented by any of us, and I don't think it will happen for a few more months until this turmoil calms down. So now I'm going to head in the opposite direction of the action and see what happens there for now. And I just got a question through from Ramey. Good morning and good to have you with us. And they've asked whether we think it's because the Birmingham boys are inexperienced with lioness that's causing them all the killing and what's going on, and it's got nothing to do with inexperience. It's typical behavior that we're witnessing here. When a pride or a coalition takeover happens, lioness will often get killed in the crossfire. And for me, it's quite simple in my mind, or there's a simple analogy or way of looking at it, and that is that if your friends, a group of females, become accustomed to several males, you become relaxed around them, and you drop your guard, and over time you go on holiday and you do things together, you have meals together. But then if all of a sudden a young bunch of 18-year-olds come in with their hackles raised and they start fighting with the males that you bond with and go on holiday with and feed with, you are naturally going to put up a fight and resistance against this new up-and-coming teenagers that you don't know and are not used to and relaxed with. And the young teenagers will then boycott your decision to not let them in and not chase off the old males. And that's why you get these fights happening between male and female. And even though it doesn't make perfect sense, it does kind of add up in my mind. And that's a simple way of looking at it. There could be a lot more to it than that, but in my mind it's that simple. The lioness are not used to these males. The males are trying to do what they need to do, and that is acquire this territory, and in doing so they will do whatever it takes to establish dominance and show the females that they are the biggest and the strongest. And once the females realize that, then they will surely be like, okay, fair enough. If these are the biggest and the strongest lions around, they are who we should be bonding with, and we'll let the older males move off. I've got some good news. There are some tracks of some lion. It looks like 2 big males, possibly 3 now, that I've seen heading down this road. Oh, what's up ahead of us? What's up ahead of us? Is it an impala? Is it a bush? Is it the lion? I think we might be in luck. Am I seeing things? Oh, I'm seeing things. It's the power of the mind got me there. But I'll show you what I was looking at for interest sakes. It's some orange bushes up ahead. Those were the lion for a moment, a very brief moment. That combined with the termite mound. The good news is I can hear another lilac-breasted roller, a very pretty bird that we didn't get to see earlier, and it's just above us in the tree. Now, all those lion tracks disappeared when I was looking ahead so excitedly at what I thought was the lions. I didn't see which way they've headed. Not the prettiest call from such a pretty bird, is it? And they're going to become more and more vocal over the coming months, and what we will hopefully be able to show you is the rolling and gliding that they do, which gives them their name, the lilac-breasted roller, as they do their display flights. And the call that we can hear now, oh, another one's coming in. And what they do is, this is the initial call that they let out, and then they'll eventually build up enough excitement to start flying around in circles, ascending in heights until they reach a point where they're comfortable, and then they start plummeting downwards and doing a series of looping rolls and also side-to-side acrobatics. James is just getting a hold of me on the radio, so I'm just going to chat with him quickly and also update everyone on these tracks. Go ahead, James. Copy that. I'm on Cheetah Cut Line, very close to Mumba Junction, and just north of there I had tracks of 3 heading south down Cheetah Cut Line, and I thought I saw them, but it was some bushes, and while I was looking at the bushes I didn't establish which way their tracks went off, so I'm just going to head back to the last point. Copy that, good idea. Just want to drive back now and try and establish where I lost these tracks. It's not far, and hopefully they've gone off to the left. Lilac-breasted roller is teasing me. It's just flown up and did a tiny little display, but we will show you that in the future when the time is right. Okay, I'm just going to have to hop off for a second here and try and work out where these lines have gone. We've got like I said, they were coming south down this road towards us. And it's looking positive. It looks like they've headed into Juma, not out of it. And the great news is that James is going to be driving the road that they should be popping out on. So let's hope that is the case, that he bumps into them. And that's what's so important for us to work as teams, because you cover ground so much more efficiently and quickly. James, it does look like they head west into Juma, just north of Mumba Road. Just got a great comment through from Edward saying that the birds in this area have got zoom detection, which allows them to flutter off before we can show you them, and it certainly does feel like that a lot of the time. It'll be interesting to do a clip of all the times we've stopped and tried to show you birds, because we could probably make a 1-hour documentary on the failed attempts. Come on, lion. And I must apologize for getting all of you excited earlier when I thought we had found the lion. And thank you, Kay, for your funny remarks saying, well done, Jean. It's these rollers, they're teasing us again. But we will get them one day. And Kay mentioned that she does enjoy the lion logs. The tricky thing is that even though these lions were vocalizing earlier, which certainly has helped get us into the general area of where we think they are, or were more importantly, and that's what I'm getting to, is that if they were on the move, and especially with the ongoings at the moment, with the takeover in place, they could be moving very, very big distances, very short spaces of time. So we could be behind them and they could be continuing on their way. Yeah, I've just got their tracks again, so that's good news. So the tracks have just popped out here. We are still on the trail. There's still hope. James just got their tracks on Mamba again now. Very good, very good. Okay, where are they going to go at this next road junction? Exactly where we wanted them to go. Deeper into Juma. James, they continue west on Mamba from Drakensberg. I think we're going to find them shortly, guys, so don't go anywhere if you want to be around for it. It is a tricky area that we're getting into now. If they stay on the road, naturally it will be easy to find them. But if they don't, this is a very thick block and also quite a large block either side. So there's not many roads that allow us to crisscross and check where they could be, but their tracks are still going down the road. James, are you copying any of my messages? I think James might possibly be off the vehicle checking for tracks, and that's why he's not hearing anything, but not to worry. Sorry, go again. Affirmative. I think what's happened is, like I said a little bit earlier, just before we found this most recent set of tracks taking us down this road, is that these lions are on the move. And where we heard them was further east, and now they're moving further west. I'm fairly confident if we had have heard them from where their footprints are here, we would have known that it was further south of the camp, not east, where we initially headed to search. Copy that, James, sounds good. Our track's still going west, approaching the Milwaukee now. A great point that Jean-Andre brought up earlier, and that's what's so great about being on safari with so many people, is that we get a lot of different thoughts and suggestions as to what may be going on. And Jean-Andre said earlier, when we had tracks of only 2 males, he said, what if it's the Matimba males? And of course it could very well be the Matimba males, because this is still their territory. The Birmingham Coalition haven't yet got the paperwork saying that this belongs to them, and the Matimba males are going to still continue to put up a fight, in my mind. And that was a very good theory that Jean-Andre brought in. I'm not too sure how many tracks we've got here, but what I would like to do is stop and take a moment just to show you a few, seeing as though we have been tracking lion. It will be nice just for you to get an idea of where they are and what the footprints look like. They're on both sides of the road. probably your left-hand track's the best one, John, right? There we go, lots of lion footprints in there. Although none of them are very easy to see, so I didn't choose the best spot to stop. But I hope you did get a glimpse. And I just wanted to make sure that we're all involved here and all on board with this tracking exercise. It's one of the most difficult things for us to involve you in, because the camera is difficult to move down to show you the tracks. And I mean, we need to try and balance up. Do we rather try and just find you the animal which you can really enjoy looking, or do we stop every 5 minutes to show you a track that you're not really going to be able to see too clearly most of the time? Okay, straight through the Mulwati riverbed. Okay, so they turned left and they have headed straight off into this bush. Well, hello Mischian in Dallas, and thanks for sending your question through. Mischian is into to know, will the Birmingham boys try and sneakily and slowly take over this territory when they confront the Birmingham coalition, or will it be quite forceful? And it's going to be a combination of the two. Initially it's going to be vocalizations and kind of flying below the radar, but there is going to be some hardcore confrontation. John, if you look up at the top of the tree there, you can see a little bird of prey. Not the best view, but it's a Wahlberg's eagle, and it's the first one that I've seen. And isn't it fitting that it is on the first day of spring? It's a migratory raptor and has come back from Central and North Africa. Just going to update. You can see a little crest on its head. That's a distinguishing feature, but not the best view. We will show you more as the spring and summer unfolds. James tracks cross west over Twin Dams, just north of Elephant Skull, basically as they cross through the Mulwati on Mamba. So Mischian, it is going to be interesting to see exactly what affirmative. That sounds good. But like I said, there is going to be confrontation, and they can only be so sneaky for so long. There has to be some actual physical contact between these males, unless of course the Matimba males weigh up their odds and decide to flee before confronting the Birminghams. But that's not typical behavior of lion. So now what I'm expecting is to find their tracks popping out onto this road shortly. They have been veering ever so slightly south, but mainly west. And basically what we're going to do now is, rather than trying to follow every individual footprint, the last ones that I had headed into this block on our right hand side, we'll now loop ahead. If the tracks don't come out, then we may have to set off on foot through this block to fine-tune where they could be. Come on, lions. Here they are. Tracks have just got back onto the road. Awesome. Still on the trail. And Mission's just asked what's likely to happen with the Birmingham boys and possibly meeting up with the Matimba Males. And now Joanne is interested to know what would happen if Junior came up against the Birmingham boys. I think Junior would flee for his life. It's 1 against 5, and even if Junior was the biggest male lion on earth, he's up against 5 others, so he really does have the odds stacked against him. Now, the last tracks veered south and east off the road we just come on. As I said, they've popped onto the road, they then popped off, and we should find them crossing this road somewhere here in front of us. And the good news is they may be heading to the Treehouse Waterhole, although they don't know this area very well yet. Maybe they remember drinking there in November last year. Closest water point to several buffalo that they killed in a very short space of time. And we'll just keep James updated. James, their tracks did cross over Elephant's Skull briefly and then south. And we're just checking Weaver's Nest down onto Treehouse Road. Interesting. They have not popped out where I've expected them to. But I'm tempted to just continue to the waterhole. Maybe I missed their tracks crossing in the riverbed behind us there. So, we are getting closer and closer to these lions, I hope, unless they're running in front of us. Then we'll never catch up with them. But we're going to send you back to James's vehicle. There is a strong chance that he may find him before I do on the road that he's heading on south of us. Still on the search with us. So why don't you go and see if you don't get lucky with him, and I'll be sure to let you know if we have any luck our side.
Copy. Hello everybody. I haven't grown, I'm just trying to look over the dashboard and onto the road for signs of the lions. Scott and I have been coordinating, trying to figure out what's going on with these things. He is over there coming towards Treehouse Waterhole. We're sort of approaching from the other side. We've driven the southern boundary and now we're trying to see if we can't sort of pick something up this side. I think I'm going to leave him to check the waterhole. I'm going to do this road here and see if they go across. That is a big advantage of having 2 people on the tracks, is that you can leapfrog each other the whole time. But they have moved an enormous distance since they were calling this morning. They really are on the run. Well, that doesn't mean that they're running from something, they're chasing things. No other lions. Well, you know what, the Nkuhuma Pride was around yesterday somewhere, and so perhaps they've got wind of them and that's now their next target. It's all rather interesting. In one direction, and very definitely you can see it happening. When they're on the hunt, they don't. They tend to kind of spread out and meander like that, so their tracks are a little bit harder to follow. And then when they're doing what they're doing now, trying to take over territory, they get wind of something. So let's pretend that maybe Junior was calling last night. I don't think that was the case, but if he was, then they'd make a beeline straight for that sound, and they'll move enormous distances very quickly, and they become quite difficult to track. So I mean, we heard them less than an hour ago. They were calling, or maybe an hour ago, and they've now come all the way from the eastern side across to, we're almost on the western extremity of Juma now. Excuse me 1 second. Sorry, Steph, go ahead. Oh, look, it's not a lion, but it is interesting. This is the second time we've seen this in 2 days. It's very interesting. It's a male and a female duiker, normally completely on their own. And these two, I suspect, are mating. And I just want to quickly check on my mammal app. I just want to check on my mammal app what their gestation period is, because I think what they're probably doing is getting ready to perhaps have a baby during the good rainy months. Just going to quickly check if I can find. No. As you can see, the female doesn't have horns, and what you can see is she's actually a bit bigger than the male. It's an unusual situation, but with the smaller antelope it does happen. And I think their gestation period is about 4 months. And interestingly, I mean, though the female can sometimes be confused from male because they've got that little mohawk between the ears. And that mohawk, I think, it's a sort of almost like a con, where they've got these, I think it's supposed to make them look like they've got a horn without having to actually have the energy expenditure of creating a horn like that. So, hopefully little baby duikers in December or November. Beautiful. Okay. What have you spotted, Jim?
Nothing.
You're just looking at the duiker. Oh. They've gone off into the thorns. Right, we carry on with the lions. No tracks on this road yet, so that's not a bad sign necessarily. Going to quickly talk to Scott so we can coordinate. Scott, you got me? Scott, I'm on Shaban, going north. That I'll keep it posted. Nothing coming out here yet. I'm nearly at Philemon's cut line. So Scott has got the tracks at Treehouse Dam, and they haven't come across here. Treehouse Dam is just down to the left hand side here, so maybe they're in this thick block here, but we'll just keep looking. Right hand. Oh, to the right hand side. Yes, sorry. Thank you, Liam. So they're walking in a pretty straight line, these fellows. Here they are, here are the tracks here. This is interesting. Ooh-wee, lots of them. Except, I'm just going to quickly tell Scott, the tracks are here. Scott, tracks coming out, going north, straight over Philemon's cut line, into the block towards Zoe's. I'll go around. Follow me. So they've gone straight across this road and they're going that way. Dory, very nice question from you. Interesting, you say, does only one of them mark, or do they all mark territory? Dory, while we drive quite quickly, please don't get seasick, but what's interesting is that they will all mark, but that's your question opens an interesting debate, because they often ask, or people often ask, is there a dominance hierarchy amongst a coalition of male lions? And normally there isn't, but in this case I think there might be, because I don't think they're all brothers. I think they're definitely related from the same pride, but some of them look, there's certainly one that looks a little bit older than the others, and so I think perhaps there will be some kind of a dominance hierarchy, and while they will all mark territory, perhaps the one is doing it a bit more fastidiously than the others. They're going straight into this block. The distance they've covered since we heard them is amazing. I think that they are looking for the Nkuhuma pride. That's what my intuition is telling me. So they're heading north, they have been heading west, perhaps we'll head them off on the next road up here. Scott, do you copy, Scott? Scott, sorry, I did radio you. Tracks head straight across Philemon's cut line. I'm going around via Rebecca's to Zoe's. I really just want to go the other way around. Sorry, my radio is not working very well. Yeah, I would suggest you take fins. I'll go take this. Exciting times. I really want to see these fellows on the move. Some Impala to the left, looking very relaxed. Keep your eyes open, chaps. Things about to get real. Right, now we're now getting into a position where they're coming towards us. I hope. Well, that their tracks are anyway. So Janet, thank you for your comment that the lions are flying. Well, they're certainly low flying. They're going at some speed. And then Amanda, you have made the comment that during a coalition takeover before, you definitely did hear of lions being killed in this area. Absolutely. When the Mapoko Pride coalition took over in 2008 or 9, I think it was, they killed a lot of lionesses. Many. In fact, they wiped out one pride entirely. We don't know why, and that's why when we've been talking about whether or not that Styx lioness that was killed was pregnant or not, I don't know if she was pregnant. It's very likely that she was, but whether she would have been showing or not, I don't know. But I don't think that was the reason that they killed her. And so, Amanda, it's not unusual for lions to be killed, and certainly the males will kill each other. But I think what I don't understand, or what nobody can explain to me, is why it is that the males kill the females. There are lots of theories. and I don't buy any of them at this stage. Right, they're coming straight across here, so we need to be very careful now. See if the tracks don't pop out. I mean, we've been driving at quite a speed. It's not like we've been going slowly. Here they are. That's one. That's not a big male though. No, that's old. Here we go, Viam. See them there? I think they've gone straight across there. Okay, we're gonna let Scott is coming up this road, so we're gonna loop around the other side now. Just get hold of him quickly. Scott, come in, Scott. Scott, I've got tracks of at least one animal going, continuing in the sort of westerly direction across the junctions, Rebecca's, that Ballanite-ish place. I'm going to go around Zoe's. Okay, copy that. Okay, I'll go there. No, here we go. They're going down the road here. Okay, Scott, I've got them now going straight west on that junction. No, they're going onto Zoe's. They're going down this road now. Oh, this is exciting. Where are they going? Yeah, the tracks are not on the road here anymore.
There's a dyke there that looks like it saw a ghost.
Really? A dyker that looks like it's a ghost. Peggy in Montana, while I just listen and try and understand what's going on here, you want to know, do they not have a sort of a teaching system like the elephants do? The cats don't, you know. The leopards, cheetah a little bit, leopards a bit less, and lions even less than that. Negative, Scott. I think you should do that. Go around Ballanite towards Impala Plains. I think the tracks have headed west. I don't have them on Zoe's anymore. So Peggy, interesting question. They definitely don't have a teaching system. They haven't picked up this behavior from a pride before. This is entirely instinctual behavior. So there's Scott is actually just behind us. We've leapfrogged each other, crossed over. He's going to go around that way. We're going to go around this way, and let's just see what we can come up with. These lions are moving at a great speed. I can only think that they're looking for some I don't know, territorial fight. And I suspect, given that we are now in prime Nkahuma territory, that's perhaps exactly who they're looking for. Not sure why, or at least I'm not sure how they'd know they were around, unless those Nkahumas were calling last night. But lions will be very careful of calling if they know there's a pride coalition takeover happening. And just to reiterate, and this is again, while I enjoyed the film tremendously, I do find myself correcting the biology in the Lion King quite regularly. The males are not part of the pride. The pride consists of the females and the babies, and the males form coalitions and those coalitions will have either one, or in their coalition territories, which are distinct from the pride territories, will encompass either one or more pride territories. So when we say to use the term pride takeover would be completely incorrect. It's not a pride takeover, it's a coalition takeover. There's an impala looking slightly distressed. I want to see if it's alarm calling. I parked you right behind the bush there. There we go. He's just staring up in one direction, but he's not alarm calling at all. Okay, let's carry on. So, Dodie, nice question, and it's an important one. Sorry, I'm just listening. So Scott has gone around there. Dodie, you want to know, will they split up and look after the sort of territory in different little groups, or the four corners, as you say, in split up completely? Dodie, I think the most likely thing is that they will split up into 3 and 2. That it certainly is not unusual. The Matimbas did that. There are still 3 of them north in Manyeleti, and I mean, one of the things we were chatting around the fire last night was, if they come back, those 3, if the 5 Matimbas were to meet up again, these Birminghams would be in a lot of trouble. I think that those Matimba males are 2 of the biggest lions I've ever seen. So certainly size-wise, were they all to join up again, those Birminghams would be in for a very nasty surprise. So most likely that they will take the territory, split up and look after sort of half each, and like the Majingalane coalition does in the west of the reserve, when they are in trouble, when they call, they come together and they sort of move around together. I'm just going to get a quick update from Scott. Scott, any luck that side? Scott, you copy, Scott? I've got a suspicion that these chaps are just going to keep going on to Arathusa. Sorry about the power line that we're driving along, but we do have to get power somehow. The most wonderful wilderness experience, but I suppose humans are part of the wilderness. So Scott is driving around that way, we're going the other way. Perhaps we will be lucky. Guys are moving so fast. Sorry about the bumping, everybody. This is a fairly nasty road. And I am driving much faster than I would normally because these lions we've now been following them for roughly 6 kilometers. We need to check around here. Here is a male leopard track. In fact, it's a female. Take a breather here and see if I can't hear anything. Let's get a quick update from Scott. Scott, do you copy, Scott? Scott, any update on those tracks? Okay, alright, I'm on Impala Road, Power Lines Junction. Should I come south there? Right, so Scott hasn't got any more tracks. Now normally that would be a bad thing, but I don't think it is today because it might mean that they've stopped moving in the block here. And that will be good, of course. We do want to see them. 5 young bucks causing upheaval in the land. Alright, we're going to nip across to Scott quickly and get an update from him. I've just found some more tracks of what looks like a female, but they're old. Okay, so we're going to carry on. We'll link across to Scott. He's in this area too, and I'll see you just now.
Welcome back, everyone. And hasn't this morning been a frantic rush looking for these lion? I've been loving every second of it. I hope you have too. And yeah, just not easy business what we're doing here. And it's incredible how far the lions have moved. So I also found some female leopard tracks that were fresh from last night that were kind of heading in a direction that was quite close to where the lions were moving. And if we don't find any of the lions' tracks coming from right to left over this road, then either they are sleeping or they are looking up at Shadow and trying to think about how they could maybe find her kill. So, or get to a kill at least. There's birds and squirrels alarm calling off to our right. So basically what could happen now is we could either bump into a female leopard, in all likelihood Shadow, and if we don't bump into her, we could bump into the lion. But imagine if we bump into both of them together. It's not unheard of, and it's quite possible that maybe she's made a kill. And now the lions, like I said, are waiting at the base of the tree, wondering how they are going to steal her kill. James, we're going to have to go and refuel before we carry on.
Hello everybody again. I'm at a loss, but they haven't come across here.
No, they haven't. And
So
I
they
had
must
tracks
be
of a
in here.
female just
Yes.
before you get to the clearing. She headed north
Yeah.
and west. I was just saying maybe they've picked up her scent, maybe she was lucky and she made a kill. Failing that, they've completely missed one another, and we've missed all of them.
Yes. But I don't think we could have missed these tracks.
Yeah, I don't think we've missed the lions. Like James says, it's going to be close to impossible for us to miss these massive dinner plate sized footprints crossing the road. But hasn't it been interesting how far they've moved?
It's incredible.
I mean,
we heard them, what, an hour ago?
Yeah. Unless, of course, and I mentioned this earlier, Jean-Andre came up with a great analysis or theory, and that is that, who knows, maybe it's the Matimba males.
Yeah, could be.
Or both of them are in the area.
Because we haven't seen 5 moving together.
No.
Very interesting. All right, good luck.
James?
We'll see you anon.
Okay. Good luck. Like James says, he's at a loss for words, now I'm at a loss for words. The tricky thing that we're encountering now is that basically, if the lions are in this block, it's a big one, and it's going to be difficult to continue searching, at least with you guys involved. So we need to probably think about who's going to walk through this block first and try and see if they can find the animals on foot. It's far more effective searching in the blocks when you don't have roads to drive along. On foot you can move far quicker and also listen to all the signs of the wild. So unless it was open where we could shoot in and check some areas quite easily with the vehicle, our best option is going to be one of us getting in on foot and fine combing through this area. It'll be interesting to see how the Birmingham boys react to us on foot. I haven't actually tracked and found them on foot before, so that's something that we can look forward to experiencing. Each individual lion or coalition or pride of lion will respond differently to humans on foot. And even though they may have general trends, the majority of the time lions will run away from us. They're very scared of us. But maybe the Birmingham boys are a little bit different. Old tracks of a lioness here from when the Nkuhuma Pride were last seen. And we've just been asked by Raisa which was the last known location of the Nkuhuma Pride, and it was just off to our left, Raisa. Not far at all, 100 meters away. So right here, and then from where they were sleeping, that was not yesterday, the day before in the afternoon, they moved down to our right and followed the Power Lines Road and then crossed over Vuyatela axis. So they were heading in that direction to the east of where they were last seen 2 days ago. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to check further around. Now the road that James just drove along is called the Power Lines Road, and it's going to be very difficult for him to, it would have been difficult for him to see tracks of those lions crossing that road. So I'm going to extend the search a little bit further just to make sure we know they are still here and they haven't looped ahead of us. And then we'll make our next decision once we've checked this area. I certainly haven't been involved in an adventure like this for quite some time on Safari Live, and it is a little bit different to what we normally experience. So if it is your first time joining, we usually aren't racing around as frantically as we are, and we will very often stop and show you things along the way, but it hasn't really been the case this morning. But that is life on safari. This is really a unique scenario that we're in, tracking down these lions, and we incredibly motivated and keen to try and find them because of the pride takeover and the coalition takeover that's happening at the moment. There's very, very interesting dynamic going on with potential for huge action. Even if we just find these males alone and they're lying down, they're beautiful up and coming coalition, so they are in their prime or coming into their prime, and their ability to hunt is very good, so they could provide us with some incredible buffalo hunting action. And I thought we were going to see that earlier. The tracks were heading straight towards a bachelor herd of buffalo, which I saw at the treehouse waterhole. And you'll be interested to know that I saw one buffalo who was moving very, very slowly, much like the buffalo that we saw at the Juma waterhole a few days ago, and that we assumed was the one that was killed by the Birmingham boys a few days ago. But it may not necessarily be the case, unless of course what has happened is that there's several buffalo that are beginning to really weaken as the dry season starts to have its effect on them. There's not much food around, so it could be that that injured buffalo either A, is still alive, or not necessarily injured but old and weak, or there's another one that's showing the very same symptoms. Oh, hello zebras. Seems to be a little bit of excitement unfolding here. And watch and listen closely. As they do take off, they will often flatulate. Oh no, I think I've just seen a zebra with a bit of a problem, but we'll get to that later. It's got a bit of a limp. Okay, well, it's just the owner of Juma actually driving past, so we're gonna let him carry on and cross the road so that we don't get in his way, and he's trying not to get in our way. And I am going to go back to the zebra. I just want to loop ahead here quickly. Speaking of buffalo and the Birmingham Coalition's ability to kill them, we've just got a question through from Sheila, and she's interested to know, is the buffalo kill that they made most recently quite close to where we are or where their tracks are heading, and is there any chance that they would have gone back there? And it's a good question, Sheila, but they have not headed in that direction. They've headed everywhere, just about everywhere around it, but not past there. And I think they know full well that it's not going to be worth heading back to that kill, because they'll be aware of the hyena's capabilities and tendencies to scavenge, and that combined with the length of time that's passed between then and now, I think they'll know that there wouldn't be much left or anything worth really feeding on back there. So once lions do abandon or leave a kill, they will very, very seldom return to it, unless of course they're just going for a drink of water. Thank you, zebra. You have now given us an opportunity to stop and breathe and wonder where these lions could be. Some of you might remember the individual on the right. It looks like his stripes don't match up properly. Look at this. This is wonderful. It's certainly a stallion on the left, the one with the funny stripes on his midriff. The one on the right, I'm guessing could also be a stallion, but I'm not too sure just yet. Yes, it is. So 2 stallions, and they can quite fight quite aggressively with one another. So let's make sure that we don't miss out on any action here. I think it's 2 stallions. Just need to see the other one's bottom quickly. And there's a mother and calf looking on almost with a look of disgust on their face, going, "What are you boys doing?" So it is 2 stallions that are rubbing up against one another there. And Bree has just sent through a question asking about the herbivores and what effect the Birmingham Coalition's presence may have on them. We've mentioned that the 5 males coming in here isn't going to have any major consequences or impacts on the leopards and hyena. They carry on with their lives. Obviously there will be an impact from time to time if the 5 males come running past. The leopard and hyena will steer clear, but they will go about business as normal, and they're not going to leave this area void of leopard and hyena just so that the lion have got their own place to go about their business. And Bree's interested if the herbivores will have to change tune, and not really, Bree. They too will carry on with their lives, and only when the lions are in the immediate proximity will they react accordingly. And the herbivores, especially at this time of the year, won't have the privilege of being able to choose where to go depending on predators. It will be most important for them to decide where to go based on food and what food is available. Well, the zebra seemed to have moved off, but that was a great sighting and a great time for us to all catch our breath. Just heard on the radio that Abel has found a male cheetah, so that's great news. It's actually the first predator of the morning that's been found, but sadly it's not where we can go, so sorry if I got your hopes up. And I've told you not to make you feel left out, but more importantly to now inform you that it's not too far east of Buffelshoek Dam and Cheetah Cutland, our northeastern boundary, and hopefully the cheetah will continue further to the west, and maybe this afternoon we'll be able to find it for you. So good prospects, even though not applicable for this morning. There is a cheetah not too far from us, and it's an animal that we don't get to see very often out here. And that's one animal that I guess does or is impacted by lion and leopard densities as well as hyena densities. And because we do have so many lion, leopard and fairly good hyena populations in this area of the Kruger National Park, the cheetah tend to not do too well here. That also combined with the thick vegetation not suited for the fastest mammal on earth, which likes large open areas which it can run through with ease. There's a couple of reasons why we don't see cheetah too often, but they are still here. Okay, so still no lion tracks coming out. Like I said, we have extended the search just to make sure James didn't miss any tracks of them crossing over the Power Lines Road, which is an incredibly tricky road to see tracks on, because it's not very well used and it's just a thin grassy track. And I must apologize again for the frantic racing on, and also for my lack of concentration and conversation with you guys. I haven't been giving you as much attention as I usually would. That is directly as a result of me wanting to desperately try and find the lions for you. Now, I know, I think it was Raisa that asked earlier where was the last position of the Nkahuma Pride, and they crossed the road. There's a little game trail here, and they crossed the road into this block yesterday, or last night rather, not last night, the night before, and we tried to track them in this area but couldn't find them, and there has also been no further sign of them today. It's important also to know that it's not just James and myself driving around out here. Aubrey's also out, Craig, Andrew, not necessarily very close to us on Juma, but in the general area, and also a couple of vehicles on Buffalo's Hook. So lots of people are out searching, but Abel is the only one who's managed to find a predator so far. Oh, the lions are making us go around in circles this morning. And yesterday, actually. I guess one of our viewers, We Siberia, couldn't help but imagine what would happen if the lions we are tracking came across the zebra we've just been looking at. And as also pointed out, it seems like the lion never catches zebra in this area, and I guess that's fair to say. I haven't seen lions on a zebra kill for a very, very long time, and the only reason I can put down to that, I guess, is just bad timing. We're not in the right place at the right time, and also there's not really many zebra around. And if there were more zebra, there would certainly be more kills made by lion. It's a perfect prey size for lion, obviously depending on the pride. They do come with their dangers though. They can kick very hard and cause injury to lions when the lions jump on their back, and you very often see zebra with scratches on their rump and where their stripes don't meet up as they should, because the lions have sliced them and they've grown back in a funny pattern. So you do often see lots of zebra who have escaped lions, but in certain areas of Africa where zebra are more common, you will see lots and lots of lions killing them, lots of zebra kills. So I hope that kind of answers your question. It will happen, I'm sure, one of these days on Safari Live with all of you guys. And it probably has happened a number of times since we've been filming here. We just haven't been in the right place to share it with you or capture it. question through from Kevin, and I'm going to try my best to answer it for you, Kevin. But if I don't hit the nail on the head, please kind of go a little bit further into what exactly you're meaning. Kevin has asked, how does the morning tracking exercise affect the afternoon tracking exercise, or I guess what differences are there between them? For me, Kevin, I think the morning is usually the freshest and most important news that we can read into. Most of the predators in this area, the lion and the leopard, will do most of their moving at night time. And therefore in the morning it's almost like you wake up with a clean slate, because you don't know what would have happened last night, and there can be massive changes. So for me, there's the most information on the morning news in terms of facts, and often the most exciting and bizarre of updates and bulletins that we get from the tracks on the ground. Whereas this afternoon is usually less productive, because the predators are less active during the day and will continue to become even less active as it becomes hotter into the summer months. And the tracks that are left from the night before in the afternoon are also not as crisp and not as fresh. The wind and the changing temperatures would have had very powerful effects on the tracks and how clear they are. So for me, tracking is an exercise that is best done first thing in the morning, especially in this area where we do get most of the movement happening at night. The afternoon is less productive, and in this area where there are a fair amount of vehicles driving around, you can often find that other vehicles may have driven over tracks, and even though they as individuals may know the information along the way, if you come there later on, you will not know anything, because the vehicle's tracks would have erased the footprints on the ground. So I hope that answers your question, Kevin. I guess the one good thing about investing a lot of time in tracking in the morning is that it does help give you a good idea of where to start your search in the afternoon. Let's take a chance here. No. There was a lilac-breasted roller, a bird that has been teasing us the whole morning, and I've yet to get you a very good visual. But the one that we just tried to see now has just flown up and landed up on a tree to our left here. And maybe we will have another opportunity to get you a close-up. They're incredibly pretty birds, but only if you can see them. Oh! Okay, well there's actually two here. Jeandre has spotted you another one. Consolation prize. Even from here, even though we're not very close, you can certainly see the beautiful colors that I speak of. You can also get an idea of how it's battling to perch on that little branch with the wind that we're experiencing today. And it's using its tail to help balance, teetering up and down. Has it spotted? No, it looks like it could have spotted an insect there. They like to sit up on perches like this and wait for insects to flutter around or give away their location on the ground below, and then they fly down and most often catch their insects in the grass or on the ground, but can also catch insects on the wing. And speaking of catching insects on the wing, that is something that we can really look forward to in the summer months. The reproductive winged termites, often termed as flying ants incorrectly because they're not ants, they're termites, but they emerge from the termite mounds in their hundreds and thousands and provide huge food sources and protein sources to a lot of our feathered friends. and other animals, not just the birds, reptiles, frogs, lizards, geckos. We even saw a young hyena walking through the quarantine clearings eating the flying ants not so long ago, or reproductive termites. And it's actually a major reason why a lot of birds migrate to Africa. It's to harvest the highly nutritious termites. So that's something we can look forward to. And often you get spoilt with really great acrobatic shows as birds fly in, catching the flying ants on the wing. It's a long-tailed shrike that we can hear calling off to the right. What to do, what to do. There were no sign of the fish female leopard tracks coming out of this block. I'm a lot less confident that we would have necessarily seen her tracks. They're not as big and as easy to see as lion tracks. So there is a chance that she's crossed out of this area, and I think it's shadow, judging from the area that she's moving in. But where I'm going with this is that she could still be here. The lions are almost definitely in here, because their tracks have certainly not left. And I wonder, like I was saying earlier, if potentially they are not together and the lions might be waiting patiently off below a marula tree where she may be sitting with the kill. Hello Sandy on Twitter. Sandy's interested to know if I'm resting or if I've given up or what's the plan, and I don't blame you for asking that question, Sandy, because it does seem like I've lost focus here. And it's not that I've lost focus, it's just that I've run out of options, really. I can't take you walking through the bush with me, which would be what I would naturally do in this scenario. I'd go to the last tracks that James had and I would follow them on foot, but then I'd have to leave you behind. And there's no other roads that we can check, so it would be pointless driving around at a high speed around roads we have already checked. And I certainly haven't given up, but what I've just decided to do now is to drive through the block, and possibly with some stroke of a miracle we may drive through the right area to find them. It's the only option I have, unless any of you have got some ideas. That is the only thing I can suggest. Like I say, there's not much else going on. Nobody's found any other animals this morning other than Abel with the cheetah where we cannot go. James is having some tech issues, that's why you haven't been on his vehicle for a while, so that explains that. as we continue the search for the Birmingham Male lions, or at least we're pretty confident it's the Birmingham Male lions, we can answer a question from Denny in Georgia. And Denny's mentioned that the lions have killed, or the Birmingham boys have now killed 3 lioness. And can we expect any scars or scratches or signs of the fights that they would have had in order to kill those other lion on them? And Denny, there certainly is a increased likelihood of a lion having scratches and scars on it after being in a fight, but I don't know of any scratches or scars that they do have on them. And obviously each lion fight will be different, so we cannot assume that what has happened in the past will necessarily happen again. But of course they are fighting with other lions, and we can therefore expect them to have scratches and scars on them, albeit that they are dominant and often the ones winning those fights. They could still get the odd scratch or nick on their nose. Going to stop here and firstly allow Jean-Ray to take off his jacket just like I've done. It's really heating up, and then also just show you some mounds of earth to the left of us, and the animal responsible for them is the aardvark. It's an animal that we have yet to show you since we've started filming here in November. And it's got a very strange body and shape. I'm going to get a picture of one in a book for you quickly, so I've got an idea of what to look for. But they eat mainly ants and termites, just like the termites I've been talking about that we can watch flying out of the termite mounds after the first rains, and that's what all the birds will be coming for. These aardvark don't need to wait for the first rains or the reproductive termites, because they've got incredibly powerful legs and long claws which help them to dig into these termite mounds, and a very long thin tongue that they can probe into the holes and burrows. And we were lucky enough to see one 2 nights ago, thanks to the keen eyes of Nikki Austin, who was shining the spotlight. And we were all pleasantly surprised when she screamed out, "Aardvark, reverse!" And we reversed, and we all got to see the aardvark, albeit a fleeting glimpse. And the reason why in this area we don't see them very often is that they're almost strictly nocturnal. In the Sabi Sands and other parts of Africa, you cannot quite often actually see them during the day. And that is what we are hoping to show you one day, and it is the animal responsible for all these holes that we can see around here. This is in all likelihood where it lives, and that's why there are so many different burrows around here. Last desperate, sorry Jean-Ray, he's still there. This last desperate stab at trying to find the lion. But in retrospect, it probably wasn't the best idea to drive hopingly through this block with a very small chance of finding them. But we are in too deep now to back out, so we're going to continue all the way to Zoe's Road. I just need to make sure I don't put us into another aardvark hole, which is what we drove into earlier there. We've just got to imagine we are walking now, because that's what I would normally be doing, and hopefully it won't be too much longer until we get that walking backpack fine-tuned and working smoothly, and that way you will really be able to join us on the walks. We just got a great comment through from X-Ranga, and X-Ranga's mentioned that maybe somebody's walking around with a lion print under their shoes and just doing this to fool us, watching from the bushes nearby as we drive around excitedly. And that really would be funny if that was the case, at least for the person who was pulling off that stunt, not for us. But imagine watching from a bush nearby as Scott and James get highly excited by the prospects of finding these lion, which are in fact non-existent, which is what appears to be the case at the moment. Well, I've got some great news, and that is that we have got some new viewers all the way in Oklahoma, and that's Shauna and Ambrosia. It's so good to have you joining in on our safaris, and thank you very much for all your kind words. Because Shauna and Ambrosia haven't been tuned in for very long, they are not sure how often we actually get to film lions and how often do we see them. And we see them quite regularly. I mean, it depends from time to time. They are either on the property or off the property, or they are on the property and we simply can't find them because there's a lot of hiding places for them. But we do get some great sightings of them. Don't worry, you've got to keep tuning in. And I would say almost every day we will see a predator of sorts, at least once, either in the morning drive or the afternoon drive, but it fluctuates. And yesterday we didn't see any predators, and today we haven't seen any yet either. But they go through stages where there may be two different leopards that we could be viewing and a pride of lion, and we almost don't know which one to go to. So we are incredibly spoiled out here, and sadly you haven't been spoiled just yet, it sounds like. But keep tuning in and you will certainly get a good idea of what I'm talking about and how lucky we actually are. I guess if you started watching yesterday you may think otherwise. And I'm so happy to hear that. I'm not sure who's who, whether Shauna's the mother and Ambrosia's the daughter, but one of you are really thinking of wanting to do this as a career. It's something that really excites you, and I must say that it's really quite possible for you to do it even though you are very, very far away from Africa. We're just a flight away, and it's easy to do training courses to come out and work in the bush. So if it is something that interests you, it is a relatively easy dream to follow and fulfill. Hello. Hello. This is awesome. It's so close. It's a fork-tailed drongo. And it actually flew up to our vehicle in the hope that we would chase some insects up for it. And usually they're following elephant or buffalo or zebra who chase up the insects, but we can also help from time to time. And look at how cute its little toes and talons are. We don't often get this close to them. They're incredibly clever little birds, the fork-tailed drongos. They've got the ability to mimic other birds' calls. And even not only birds' calls, but other animals' calls. And they are known to tease mongoose and meerkat and let off an alarm call as soon as the mongoose or meerkats have caught a kill, and that way the mongoose will drop their kill and run for cover back into their burrows, and then the fork-tailed drongo will be able to fly down and eat their meal. But obviously the fork-tailed drongo can't do that and mimic their alarm call every time, otherwise they would tune into it. And a lot of the time the fork-tailed drongo is actually helping and providing useful updates to the mongooses or meerkats, but every now and then it will cash in and claim its meal for having kept an eye out for the birds. Look at how windy it is. It's really battling to stay balanced there. Well, that's certainly the closest I've ever been able to get you to a fork-tailed drongo, or it managed to get itself to you. I think in this case it came straight up to us. It's got that very distinctive dark maroon red eye, which I'm sure a lot of you haven't seen before. And now you can see it's very clearly forked tail blowing in the wind. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Jandre to keep filming it as we move. It's going to be tricky, but what I'd like to show is how it may follow us to the next branch where we park. So I'm going to drive very slowly, and let's see if it doesn't follow us. Where you see it's moving too quickly, but it's just come up to the next tree to wait for us. Oh, it's right in front of the car now. It's playing with us, and I think it did manage to gobble something up. You can see it shaking its head in excitement now, trying to swallow whatever it caught. Hey, how was that? What did you catch? I'm not sure if it's tasty, but it doesn't seem like you... Oh no, there we go. You've got it down, finally. Let's do it again. Let's try again. Let's see what happens next. There's another little branch up ahead, and I'm guessing it's going to fly there and wait. Keep coming. Keep coming. It's right in front of us now. It's hard to see. Oh, there it goes off to the left, but it was hovering right around the vehicle. Sadly, it's happening so quickly that it's hard to show you. But here it is now. And keep watching. It's probably going to take off again shortly and keep following us. There we go. Up to the next branch on the right. Sorry if you're getting a little bit dizzy, but this is how we hunt with the drongo. Keep coming, Mr. Drongo friend. There we go. And Ren has just mentioned that they think this drongo likes the camera, and I think you're right. We need to get this drongo an official position on our team, I think. It's a real performer. Poor old Jandre is swiveling from left to right, backwards and forwards on the back of the vehicle, and doing a great job to try and show you as much as he can of this unique sighting. Now bear in mind, we're just driving down the road with this bird following us, as if we're best friends. Here, keep coming. There, where's it gone? I think it may have made a kill on the ground next to us. Have we got it there, Jandre? Ah, well done. Absolutely crazy. You are too clever. Too clever, little drongo. Are you urging us to carry on, little Drongo? Hey, should we carry on? Okay, we'll carry on if that's what you want. I hope you managed to hear that little whistle it let out there. Well, I think that's enough for now, but as you can see, it is still following us. But let's see what other bizarre scenarios and situations we can find. As much fun as that was, we're not telling the Drongo to stop following us, and it probably will carry on following us for quite some time. Just to keep you updated, James is busy doing some camera tests and trying to fine-tune things, all to try and make this product and safari experience better for you. But sadly it means that you may be stuck with me for the rest of the drive. So that's the only update I have for you on James. There is a chance that you're not going to see him again this morning. So this is the last position of the lion tracks that James had. Go ahead, Mr. James. Copy that. Well done. How many? Well, we've got some great news. Even though you won't be seeing James again on his vehicle, you may be seeing him from this camera as we are on our way to meet up with him. He has found the male lions. How they got to where he is a mystery to us, and they are actually just north of the Djuma Dam on a road called Gowrie Cutline. So, good news, at least the lions were finally found. And it is a mystery as to why they've gone there. Their last tracks that James had, that he said headed northwest into this block, has been their general, west has been their general direction of movements. And for them to all of a sudden appear quite far east of us now is a mystery to all of us. And for Shauna and Ambrosia, don't go anywhere. You're gonna get to see that lions actually do exist here. And we're probably about 5 minutes away. So not far at all from these lions. Sadly, I think we would have probably missed all the action that has unfolded in the course of the night, and they're probably not going to be up to too much. But that is the probable outcome of what we'll be seeing, but not guaranteed. And that's the beauty of being on safari, is that even though we can assume certain behavior from certain animals, they very often prove us wrong. think James actually found these lions on the very same road that he would have had to drive up to get to where he started his morning safari with all of you on buffels with cut line. Driving quite slowly because I am trying to work out how the lions got from their last tracks to their current position, but not seeing any clues here. And the reason why I'm interested to try and find out this information is to confirm that there aren't possibly other lion there, like we said earlier, possibly the Matimba males. And they could, in fact, like I said, be different lion in different areas of the reserve, and we mustn't just assume that the tracks that we had over there are the ones that have been laid down by the animals that James has found up ahead of us. Game drive channel's not working at all well today, which is strange. It's usually quite good, but today it's terrible, and battling to copy a lot of the transmissions that are happening here. Make our way there. Russell in California has brought up very good points and has asked, have we ever thought of using drones to help us search the blocks for animals? And yes, we certainly have, and are in the process of trying to find a drone that is best suited for our needs. And they certainly are going to become a very important part of, or at least I think they are. I think they will become a very important part of the Safari Live experience. They'll be able to offer us incredible views and incredible assistance on Safari. So it is something to look forward to, Russell, but I think there's going to be a lot of fine-tuning before we can especially have them transmitting a live feed like we're doing right now. And that is what all of us here at WildEarth really love about the product, that it is live. It would be no good sending up a drone to film and then watching the video afterwards. That wouldn't be fun. Well, it would, but not as fun as watching it live and searching from there. Imagine sending it up over these big blocks and scouring them for any signs of animals. and it's an exciting reality. I think in the near future we'll be doing that. So I don't think we're too far now. They should be just up ahead of us. We've just turned onto Gari Cut Line. Now this is an area where we sometimes have bad signal, so let's just cross fingers that we are not going to be in a dead zone. So the vehicle on the right has got some other team members from WildEarth, and they're with James doing the test, or at least they were with James doing the test. Good morning. And finally, the mission of this morning is coming to completion, and we can eventually enjoy a sighting of some male lions. Now this is interesting. If it's just 2 of them here, it means the other 3 could still be there, but no, it looks like there could be more than 2 here. It looks like they might all be here. This is looking good. Well done, James. All 5 of the males we are looking for. The Birmingham boys. Sharon and Ambrosia, enjoy. This is certainly a great way for you and any other viewers who may be joining for the first time to see these up and coming dominant males of Djuma. They're not quite there yet, but they are on a rampage, and it's a rampage that started very recently, and what they are going to do is continue fighting with the current slightly older dominant males, which there are 2 of, until they do become the kings of this area. Now, I can't remember who it was exactly that asked about the scars we may find on them from fights that they've had with the prides of Lioness recently. So take a closer look. I can't see any noticeable scars. This is the biggest of the 5, and there's 3 others that are slightly smaller than him and therefore younger, and then 1 that's smallest out of all 5. So it's 1 big, 3 in between, and 1 slightly smaller. I would like to know what he's looking at out in the distance. I'm trying to look back to see if I can find out what he is focusing on. Possibly vultures or some birds. It looks like he's looking slightly up into the sky, although now it looks like he may be looking at me. All of the others are fast asleep. Looking the most alert. And this wind's keeping them nice and cool. Usually by now they'd be under the shade of a tree. we've been talking about the pride takeover or coalition takeover that's going on here between these 5 and the other 2 Matimba males. And Janice is asking, would it be dangerous for us to get caught in the middle of one of these battles? I think there is a very slight chance that we could get caught in the crossfire, but it is an extremely, extremely slight chance. And the only reason I'm mentioning that is that we never know what is going to happen out here, and there's always a small risk that something bizarre could happen. But I feel that, like in most scenarios, we simply are spectators to what's going on here, and very fortunately don't get caught up in these animals' ongoings. So I really don't think we do have anything to worry about, and would love for nothing more than to be able to see and witness a battle between these lions. It's something that I've never seen, and I have spent many years and many hours in the bush and many, many hours with lion, and it's purely to hear the noises and see the power that these animals have that I would like to watch. It's not to see any individual lose or be killed. That would be a reason why I wouldn't want to watch, but it is a reality that these 5 males could at any point fight and kill a lion on one of these live safaris. So it isn't something that we will not film simply because it's sad and gory. It is nature, and it would happen whether we were here or not. But it is something that all of the viewers should prepare themselves for, because there is a very strong likelihood that one of us are going to be in the right place to film a battle with these lions. And it's not necessarily going to be with the Matimba males. It could also be with a pride of lioness, and already 3 lioness have been killed by these males. The most recent one was, I think, 3 days ago, and that was a lioness from the Styx pride. She was about 6 years old and possibly trying to defend the cub of her sister. Look at how impressive he is. Now, look at those eyes. Their manes are going to continue to grow. Oh, Jean-Ray, look here on the right. Some hooded vulture here. The good news is for these hooded vultures, even though the lions don't have a kill, which means there's no guaranteed meat for them to feed on, hooded vultures will feed on the feces of lion. Terrible thought, but that is the good news for them. Even though they have arrived here and there's no meat to feed on, all they need is one of these lions to defecate and they will have breakfast. And maybe that's what one of the males was looking at earlier when I said he was staring off into the distance. Maybe he could see these vultures way up in the sky. It was this individual. He's the biggest, and he's got not only the biggest body but also the biggest mane. So that's a distinguishing feature of him. He's got quite a light mane, and it'll be interesting to see what it develops into as they become more dominant. There's various different theories related to mane growth and what may cause it. and what may cause the darkness of the mane, and at what age should manes really develop. But one of the theories is that when males know that they are becoming dominant, which is exactly now for these males, the increased boost in testosterone and hormones coursing through their veins as they go through this rampage increases mane growth, and I think it's a plausible theory. So it's going to be interesting in the next couple of months to see how quickly their manes grow and also how dark they become. We certainly do have a lot of growing to do, and for some of the guides who have seen them together, it's believed that the two Matimbas are considerably larger than these males, but obviously there's 5 of them here and only 2 of them bigger Matimbas, so thankfully they've got power in numbers, not necessarily size for the time being. Well, Lisa on Twitter asks a great question, and she's interested to know, how far have they traveled? Well, there was only 3 of them together yesterday on Buffalo's Hook, so we didn't get to see them, but there were 3 of them. The other 2, we're not too sure where they are, and we're not too sure where they reunited. I don't think we were tracking all 5 of them today. I think we were only tracking 3 of them. So they may have reunited somewhere in between this gap of where we're not sure where they were moving. But the 3 that we were following probably moved from the start of the tracks that we found. They probably moved about 2 to 3 miles. And that is simply during the point from where we found their tracks. We have no idea how far and how much zigzagging they did before we found those tracks. And it's quite possible that they moved anywhere from 7 to 10 miles and will move very, very large distances, especially at this moment when they are trying to establish dominance over of touring and we are bound to experience a lot more interesting behavior from them.
How are you?
Very good. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
Thanks for allowing us in.
No problem. So there's a vehicle that's just arrived in the sighting, and they're just asking for some updates as to what's going on and where's the fit. Just moved down into the riverbed, so not sure if we'll be seeing that one again. And the rest could very well follow it down there. It's going to be the for them as the day heats up. And like I said, with this breeze, they may not be required to seek shelter in the shade. As predicted, we probably won't expect too much action. Distances last night, their bellies look quite content, so they're not hugely pressured to find their next meal. And the only likely scenario where we could see action is if some buffalo stumble upon them. So if anything was to walk into this sleepy scene, their body language could very, very quickly change. as we see them lazing about here, we can learn from Jim, who's interested to know how do they keep control of parasites and ticks, and do they help groom one another? They certainly do help groom one another, Jim, and it's incredible how caring and affectionate these 5 brothers will be to one another. And they can also groom and will also groom themselves probably 3 or 4 or 5 times a day at least. So they do take a lot of time daily to groom both themselves and one another. And what's great to watch is when they are grooming one another is that they specifically target those hard to reach areas that they cannot groom themselves. And look at those 3, you've got an idea of how affectionate and caring they can be. They're all snuggling up together with one another. Look now, perfect timing. The one's resting his head on the other's head like a pillow. Now, as we look at all these males, I'm trying to establish how exactly we are going to keep ID features and easy ID features to know exactly who's who. They all look quite similar. And look, the 5th one that was down on the riverbed looks like he's getting a bit lonely and he's coming to rejoin. Mischian in Dallas has actually just asked, how do we go about identifying the lion? It's a tricky one, Mischian. They are not nearly as easy to identify and differentiate as the leopards are. Leopards have got very clear spots above their muzzles and whisker marks that allow us to differentiate them quite easily. But these 5 males are going to be a little bit more tricky, and things to look for will be scratches on the nose and scars, scratches and scars, notches out of their ears. Obviously mane size will make a big difference, but there's no set way to identify lion, and like I said, all depends on individual scars and characteristics. There's no spots that you can look for like you can on leopards, and basically you can look at a picture of a very young leopard while it's a cub and see a picture of it when it's fully grown and still be able to with relative confidence establish whether it is exactly the same animal. Whereas with lions it's very different. They all look quite similar, and other than the scratches and scars and different mane sizes, you don't have too much to go on. The great news is you guys get such good views of these animals, often better than us sitting right here. We get such good close-ups that you will be able to help us identify who's who.
Cheers, guys.
And establish which patterns and which scars are going to be applicable for which lion.
Davey, we're just going to go check
And
the
possibly which names may be attributed to these 5 individuals as they do settle in to this area, will hopefully settle into this area over the coming months. Now earlier I did mention that the 2 Matimba males are bigger than these 5 individuals, and Jennifer in Idaho is interested to know if they still do have a chance even though they are slightly larger than these 5, they're hugely outnumbered. And Jen, I certainly think that the 2 Matimba males do have a very good chance at remaining kings of this territory for the time being, but there will come a point in time where these youngsters become bigger and their shields for fighting, their manes, become bigger and protect them more. And eventually the Matimbas will move off. Maybe they won't be kicked out by these males, and who knows, maybe the Matimba males could end up killing these Birmingham males. Something that's important to remember is that the Matimba coalition was initially a coalition of 6 males, and I think there's another 3 that are still alive. The 6th one is not accounted for, but there are 2 that we see here, and another 3 that have been seen further north of us in the Manyaleti. They haven't been in this area for a very, very long time. But what we need to remember is that the bonds that they made with the 2 individuals here many years ago, I think now, could be reaffirmed. And those 5 Matimbas could join forces, and if that happened, well then these 5 would be in serious trouble, because they would be up against 5 established dominant males. And I'm told Wendy in Nebraska was interested to know if the Matimba males did have a big coalition before disbanding to the current 2. And what's important to remember is that quite often coalitions will begin big like this, 5 to 6 members, and then once they've established dominance over an area, it makes sense for them to split up, because 5 males can acquire such a huge territory that it almost becomes impossible to manage and patrol if they all stick together. So what will often happen is that some of them will stay on one section of the territory and the others will stay on another, thus ensuring that by dividing their forces once they have established a territory, they can then maintain and patrol that area far more effectively. If trouble arises and another coalition comes in, all that needs to happen is one loud roaring ceremony, letting their brothers know to come and help, and they will rejoin forces and take on whatever threats may be approaching or imminent. And that was the same with the Mapocho coalition, which is a coalition that I viewed in the southern Sabi Sands. When I started my career here, there was 6 of them initially, and then you would only see them in groups of 2s or 3s for the majority of the time, unless there was a fight or unless there was a buffalo kill that they would share with one another. And I'm guessing the same thing will happen with these boys once they do become dominant, or if they do become dominant. We will not continue to see all 5 of them together. And I've just answered Jim's question, so I'm a little bit ahead of you guys today. I haven't had breakfast yet, so I can't say that it was the breakfast that caused that. Chandra has just spotted the hooded vultures. It looks like they might be heading off. I don't think they are willing to wait any longer for these lions to poop. Or are they going to come back? At this time of the day, as it heats up, vultures can ride the thermals and relatively easily, without too much flapping, once they do get onto thermal, disappear far and wide. I think the wind is what's causing them a little bit of hardship this morning. I can't even see where they are. I don't know where Jean... Oh, they're behind us there. I'm busy watching the monitor here as Jean-Andre pans behind, and they do appear to be moving off. I'm back to the morning's tracking saga. We were racing around for the majority of the morning, and the last tracks we had were quite a way off from here, so who knows how they managed to get back here. But very happy that James has found them, and wonderful prospects for this evening for the sunset safari. They've been extremely vocal lately. We heard lions vocalizing last night, in all likelihood them, then again this morning. And let's hope we get to hear them roaring tonight. I've never heard these guys roar up close, so maybe tonight will be my first time. I know James got to experience it just a few days ago. Killed their buffalo, and this is actually my first sighting of them with you guys since probably February or March when we last saw them. It was a very different scenario back then. They were flying below the radar. They weren't vocalizing. They weren't as big as they are now and as bold as they are now. And it's wonderful to see them again after so many months of them being away. They moved probably 20 to 30 miles away from us, further north into the Manyaleti Reserve, where they were seen quite close to the accommodation where we used to stay in. And the Manyaleti Reserve is a very pretty reserve. It's quite different to where we are here in the Sabi Sands. It's very open. Well, there's a lot more open areas and grasslands, and in these open grasslands are many buffalo. It's one of the greatest places to view large herds of buffalo in the whole of the Kruger National Park. And I think that's a big reason why this coalition headed up there, simply for good feeding. And they've managed to acquire a lot more strength and bulk in the time they've been away. For the Birmingham Males, the Welcome back everyone, and we haven't even moved yet the signal disappeared, so it gives you an idea of the issues we are up against technically. And who knows, maybe something was happening in outer space that caused the picture to disappear. Thankfully the lions have not disappeared, and nothing has changed in the short time that you were away from us. And I'm thinking of probably actually leaving these 5 boys and seeing if we can't find you anything else of interest before the end of the safari. Like I say, very good prospects for this afternoon, but personally there's only so much sleeping lions. Maybe I speak on behalf of myself, but it is important to remember that there are a lot of other animals out here and we could be missing something a little bit more. Let's go and see what else we can find. See you later, boys. Thanks for making our morning a frantic runaround in search for you. What will help is as they do begin to establish themselves in this area, they'll probably start picking areas and routes that they like to use. No different to us as humans. You've got your special route that you like to take to the grocery store, and the other one that you like to take to drop the kids off at school. And even though you may travel lots of other routes in and along the way to do random things that aren't part of your more usual routine, you still have those routes or pathways that you need to travel or are more inclined to travel on a more common basis. And that's what will help us to find them more easily. And it's also what helps us to find the leopards. Once we spend more time with the leopards, we get to know these pathways and routes and habits that they like to take. So we are quite close to the Juma waterhole, and I think we might head past there, see if there's anything going on, and then I would like to go and have a look at the buffalo carcass that these Birmingham males killed, which was, I'm losing track of time out here, but basically they left the kill quite some time ago, 2 or 3 days ago, and hyena fed on it the night before last, but we're not sure exactly what may have fed on it last night and how much is left. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going on there. I'm guessing not too much is going to have changed, but let's go and have a closer look and get to the bottom of that. See an African fish eagle. It looks like it may be coming down to the waterhole to land. It's just up to our left. It's going to be difficult for Jande to film while we're driving, although this road is very smooth. Have a go for us. So we are driving alongside this African fish eagle. It may be a little bit bumpy, but we can play around and try a few different things on this LiveSafari, otherwise you won't get any fun shots. Whoops, that was a bump that Jandre didn't see, so that was unavoidable, but good recovery, Jandre. And like I say, we are approaching the waterhole and there's a lot of catfish nearby. Great work there, Jandre. And let's go and park here and see if we can't capture it landing. Oh, I think it's going to beat us to it. I think we may be here just in time. It's going to land in this dead tree just up ahead of us. Don't want to get too close. There it comes. Chop! Perfect! That was awesome. Very, very pretty birds of prey. And the reason why I'm quite excited by this prospect is that if I just creep forward a few meters, I'll be able to show you why I am hoping that we manage to see a kill. And if it's not during the broadcast, I'm going to suggest tuning into the waterhole camera that films 24 hours a day at this waterhole, and Jandre is going to pan down now to the little puddle that remains, which is teeming with catfish. Look at all the bubbles and swirls. You can see their tails popping out, and we have yet to cash in on any of the feeding frenzies at any of the drying waterholes, and there have been countless fish caught at these waterholes, but we have yet to get any good action out of it. We were chatting with some of the guides from the other camps last night as we had a small function and a get-together where we can trade stories of what's going on and who's seeing what. And a lot of them have said that, oh, well done, Jean-Andre. A lot of them have said that they have had countless sightings of fish eagles hunting and wading through this thick, muddy water with very, very large catfish. Now let's see what this one's doing. It may be landed on that dead tree to stop and have a quick check as to what's going on, and now it may be planning its run-up. Although it looks like it's flying directly over the final control, almost just to the right of the final control room where Nikki and Tara are sitting, making sure this broadcast gets to you. But it seems to have gone too far off to be planning an aerial attack back at this pond. And it's just the most bizarre behavior, or maybe it's just our bad timing that we haven't got to see the fish eagles catch any catfish. As you can tell, just a mere speck in the distance now, so our timing was off again. But the catfish that remain here, as far as I'm aware, are very, very large. They're probably 3 feet long, probably 5 to 8 kilograms, so 10 to 20 pounds in weight, so quite big. Too big for a fish eagle to catch and fly off with, and almost too big for it to even catch and get onto the side of the water to feed on. But wouldn't that be great if we did see a fish eagle latch onto this massive catfish and have to struggle to get it out the water? And that's what some of the other guides in the surrounding camps have been lucky enough to see. Not us yet, though. There's another interesting bird of prey walking along there, and it's called the saddle-billed stork. It's also a fish-eating bird. It's got a different hunting technique to the fish eagle. It wades through the water and catches fish and frogs in its beak, a big long beak, and will actually use its toes to try and flush up and feel the fish. Whereas the African fish eagle is different. It uses its toes to latch onto the prey and its beak simply to feed on it. There's a family of nyala in the background, some impala in amongst them as well. Some of you may remember a wonderful sighting with a saddle-billed stork, the bird we're looking at now, and an African fish eagle. It's probably the only good fish action we've got, or fish hunting action we've got. And it wasn't when the puddles were nearly as dry as they are now, and I was quite surprised. And it wasn't when the puddles were nearly as dry as they are now, and I was quite surprised. Right at the end of a broadcast quite similar to now, the saddle-billed stork stabbed its beak into the water and pulled out a massive tilapia. And it moved onto the bank away from the water's edge, dropped the tilapia there, and then was in the process of probably trying to reposition it to swallow. And there was a fish eagle that we hadn't noticed sitting not in the dead tree where we saw it earlier now, but in another bushy tree. And the fish eagle flew down out of nowhere and tried to steal the tilapia from the saddle-billed stork, and in the chaos the stork dropped the tilapia back into the water. So it had a very, very lucky escape from both the saddle-billed stork and the fish eagle. Look at how beautiful this scene is. Impala and nyala, a big male chocolate brown nyala, and the saddle-billed stork. To see what the stork does when the nyala gets closer, or what the nyala does. It looks like nothing's going to happen. and there's just 2 minutes left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say goodbye now, so that we can make sure if these Inyala do come down to drink, it's what you guys are looking at for the last minute or so of the show. But a very, very big thank you for following in on this morning's sunrise safari. It's been, like I said, not your average safari. We've been doing a lot of racing around early on, but I guess it did pay off, even though we got lucky and found the lions in an area where we didn't expect to. But well done to James for pulling that off in the end. He does say goodbye to all of you and apologizes for losing out on the last half of the show with you, but he was doing some very important camera tests, which is going to enhance the safari experience going forward. But he does send his goodbyes to all of you. Well done, Jandre. Thanks for being bumped around, and especially when we popped into that aardvark hole, Jandre nearly went overboard. And also very big thanks to Nikki and Tara in the final control room. Enjoy the views of these Inyala approaching us for the last minute or so of the show. And be sure to do whatever it takes to tune into the sunset safari. Very, very good prospects with the Birmingham boys. And I think we're going to get to see them roar again.